nerderotic.com.
All right, welcome everyone. It has been a long time since I reviewed an episode of television, much less 3, and it has been even longer since I reviewed something good. So let's talk about Doom Patrol episodes 1 through 3, which are Fun Size Patrol, Time Patrol, and Pain Patrol. I will be doing some spoiling here. I always do in my reviews, but I won't be spoiling every minute of every episode. I will talk briefly about each 3. Now, if you're new to the channel, I started out reviewing television, doing it live, and I will be doing it live starting next week, Thursday night, on Nerderotic Live, probably 8 p.m. Pacific time. I'm going to do a 20 or 30 minute live review where you can be my co-host. Now, please remember to subscribe to the channel and like and share the videos. It really does help keep independent content creators competitive against the giant corporations. I do appreciate that. Overall, I thought it was really good. I thought Doom Patrol Season 2, Episodes 1 through 3 were very, very good. I have some minor complaints, just like I did for Season 1. Overall, I thought Season 1 was pretty damn good. It had a couple of weak episodes, got a little too woke in a couple areas, but not bad. It certainly has themes that I'm not sure all of you are going to like. I mean, I know my audience. Yeah, I'm a centrist guy. What can I say? And there are themes that some people are going to think are woke that I don't. And there's scenes that are going to be woke that we'll probably agree on. But overall, this is very entertaining and it captures the spirit of Grant Morrison's comic. Now, admittedly, I am a big fan of Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol. I own them all. I recently featured those in a bagging and boarding with Az. You can check it out on his channel. He is also currently reviewing Stargirl. Go check it out. Now, this one snuck up on me. I didn't realize it had premiered until I was on a live stream last night with Doomcock on the Inquisition, and you can find that on Nerderotic Live. So we pick up the episode where we left off. The Doom Patrol had defeated Mr. Nobody and left him in a painting, but when they escaped, they were miniature, and they spend most of the first episode miniature, and they're trying to grow back to normal size. And they're also stuck with each other because the Doom Patrol has just learned that Niles was experimenting on all of them so he could achieve immortality to protect his daughter Dorothy, who is from the comics, who can manifest her imaginary friends, and some of them can destroy the world. And Niles needs to protect her and the planet, so that's why he needs to live forever. Unfortunately, the Doom Patrol were his failed experiments, and he hasn't achieved it yet. So he's wearing an amulet that keeps him alive, but it won't last forever, and that plays into the end of the last episode. So we have everybody kind of going through their personal problems. What the Doom Patrol is, it's the same concept as the X-Men. You got a white guy in a wheelchair, and you have misfit they were supposed to be younger superheroes, but these are just misfit superheroes, and they're all pretty old actually in this. So we have, and listen, this isn't the kind of show you have to worry about spoiling. It's not about the plot. It's very much like what Buffy used to be. I mean, we love individual episodes, but we watch Buffy for the characters, and you watch this for the characters. Brendan Fraser as Robot Man is utter perfection. Matthew Bomer as Negative Man is perfection, and I'm forgetting, what's the actress who plays Rita? This is terrible. It is April Balby. She is great as Rita. Diane Guerrero, to me, is the weakest link. Crazy Jane is the weakest link. And I thought Crazy Jane was the weakest link in the comics, personally. So that was the one thing I didn't love about season 1. Her melodrama, and honestly, Larry Trainor's melodrama went on too long. I think that could have just been a half a season. But the melodrama that he goes through in this episode and the next one is it's great, and it's heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching. And you can go through all the emotions in 10 minutes. That's what a comic book does, but television shows rarely do this. I don't know if a normie audience is going to jump on something like this, because this is it's surreal superhero television, not unlike Legion was in its first 2 seasons, which was great. So we have the Doom Patrol, and they're all miniature. So they're going about their lives living in Cliff's, he has that electric race car town, and they're all living in that. The Doom Patrol is a little annoyed by Dorothy. She's very talkative. She's eternally 11 years old. Again, that's why Niles has to live forever to take care of her, because she doesn't age. So they tried to give him a purpose for, experimenting on people and killing Cliff's wife. But, Cliff is still mad about that, obviously. So Cliff is going through his anger issues. There's a great scene where he goes to feed the rats, but he goes to kill them. And he's got a big chunk of cheese and he goes to kill them. And Niles goes, well, yeah, you go ahead and try to fill that hole with killing the rats. And he comes back and he's wearing a rat cloak and he's all hole filled. I thought that was pretty good. So they're trying to get big through scientific means. Rita does bring up Willoughby Kipling and some magic to maybe solve their problem, and he refuses to do it. He does end up calling Willoughby, who asks him for an amulet around his neck, and he absolutely refuses, so Willoughby takes off, but eventually Niles relents, calls Willoughby back apparently, and they are grown again. But now Niles is dying because that amulet was keeping him alive. Also in this episode, you have Crazy Jane dealing with her personalities. She's suppressing them by using a serum, and they're getting pissed off, so they are thinking about replacing her as the primary personality, which I'm kind of for. Personally. I'm all for it. And Larry Trainor, he's since reconciled with the spirit within him, and they work together now, and that spirit gave him flashbacks of his son, where he was kind of, there was a moment where he was kind of a dick to his son. His son built him an airplane. The rocket engine was positioned wrong. He's, I'm going to show you how to do it right, and the mom chastised him. So there is a bad dad theme throughout Doom Patrol. I complained about it in season 1, and I'll complain about it a little bit here, but they offer the bad dads some redemption. We'll see how that plays out. It looks, at least if they do that, then I'm fine. It's not just you're an irredeemable bad dad. That's the thing I have a problem with. Hollywood has just played that out. And we saw the worst example of that in a video game with the father figure Joel being beaten to death with a golf club 2 days away from Father's Day. And by the way, that was deliberate. More news on that in a separate video. Got a little inside source that chirped to me about that they always wanted that release date. Interesting, isn't it? But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about something good. So Larry gets a flashback with his kid, and then later he gets a flashback with his kid older. So Larry doesn't age either, and his youngest son is 60, and he's about to commit suicide, and he doesn't know what's up. And we find out in the next episode, and it's and at the end of the episode, Larry sees on his phone that his son died in an obituary, and that's kind of where the episode ends. We also have Dorothy, her imaginary friend, told her that her dad is dying. She doesn't want to believe it, but it is indeed true, since Niles gave up the amulet to save his family. He figures they've been through enough, and he'll just have to figure it out. So he gave up his amulet to Willoughby Kipling, which is probably a good person to give it up to, but he had to pay a high price to make everybody back to normal size. And there's some pretty funny moments in it, and you definitely go check it out. It's going to be tough to review this. Now, I unsubscribed from HBO Max. The reason I unsubscribed from HBO Max was they removed Gone with the Wind. Not that I'm a fan of that movie. I'll be honest with you, I've never seen it. And I'm okay with them putting a disclaimer, but I am not okay with them erasing history. We are doomed to repeat it if we don't learn from it. I know some people might disagree with me on that one, and that is fine. We can disagree. They also support Doctor Who, and it also has Game of Thrones Season 8. I'm like, why am I here? I love the Snyder Cut, and I'll watch it some way, somehow, just like I watched Doom Patrol. By the way, I did not watch it illegally. I'll just say right there, and you know who you are. Thank you. So the next episode is Time Patrol, where they have to find Dr. Tyme so they can get some continuinium. God, I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to say that, to prolong Niles' life. So they send Crazy Jane, they send Rita, and they send Cliff. Vic, when he became full size, bailed. He just bailed. He's dealing with some nightmares and some PTSD. And by the way, Elastigirl and Rita wants to be a superhero. So Vic was training her a little bit when they were miniature, but now he took off. Now Vic has kind of the most boring story in this. They have him going to group, and he meets a love interest, and the love interest is like such a 2019 character. She's not terrible, but it's such a 2019 character. It was almost cringe. We'll say almost cringe. So his story is pretty boring, and Crazy Jane is dealing with an intervention. Her personalities now want her to leave the family. They want her to leave Niles and everybody else, or they're going to replace her as primary. That's a little bit of a problem, but honestly, she spent the first 2 episodes shooting up drugs, smoking the world's smallest joint when she was miniature. So they find Dr. Tyme. He, of course, has the continuinium. It's supposed to be in a helmet, right? Well, it turns out it's not his helmet. It's his head. Rita. They go to his base or whatever, his capsule, and it's a roller rink eternally in August 8th, 1980, which is such a weird random date. And it's close to my birthday, actually. And I remember August of 1980. I'm freaking old. So they're supposed to retrieve this continuinium for Niles, and they don't. They end up roller skating a little bit, breaking open Dr. Tyme's head. Rita, and she did it accidentally. His brain goes all over the floor, and his brain starts shooting people. She turns back the clock on his face, and it heals him. And he says something ominous. He looks at Rita and he tells her, "I've seen your life from birth to death, and you'll always be a failure." And then she takes off, and all the progress Rita has made for self-confidence was almost gone right there. So you see the Doom Patrol, all but Cliff, slowly starting to warm up to Niles again. He's trying to make things right. He's played great by Timothy Dalton. I love Timothy Dalton. Didn't love him as Bond, but I love him in everything else. I loved him as Rassilon, Doctor Who. I thought he was great with the spit coming out and everything. So after I bitch about the melodrama of Larry Trainor's character in season 1, that ends up being my favorite part in the first 2 episodes. Maybe I'm just getting soft in my old age. So in the first episode, we found out that Larry Trainor, the negative spirit, had given him a flashback to see his son when he was younger, Gary, and then his son right before he killed himself. And we then found out that Gary Trainor died. Larry goes to his funeral, and as he's putting a flower on the casket, an older guy in military garb asks him a question, and Larry answers back, and immediately the military man, which is Larry's oldest son, recognizes his voice, and Larry just says, "Yep, I'm alive." And, considering we're in a DC superhero world, and that guy's in the military, he probably thought it was unusual, but, maybe my dad just became a secret superhero. So they have a awkward but decent conversation, and he invites him to a wake. Through that conversation, we found out that Larry Trainor's oldest son was a truther. He's into conspiracy theories, and we find out why, and it's freaking heart-wrenching. Larry goes to the wake. He doesn't go inside the house. He is drawn to a barn by the spirit, and we find out, we see pieces of Larry's crash, and that his youngest son obsessed his entire life. And even the older brother mentioned that, oh my God, he was right. If Gary knew that killing himself would have brought you here, he would have done it sooner. So yes, he obsessed over his missing father. And there was a shrine, and he opens a drawer, and there's letters by a kid written to his dad, like, "Where are you?" And it's completely heart-wrenching. Now, a butterfly flies in, and you think it's some kind of nice, visual, spiritual scene, but it's not. And as soon as I saw the butterfly, I'm, oh, no, yes, no, yes, no. And when Larry walks, he leaves the funeral, and then he gets swarmed by a bunch of butterflies, and I'm like, yes! They bring in Red Jack, one of the best villains in the Doom Patrol comics and one of the coolest villains in the comics. Red Jack is God. He is the creator of the universe, and to punish himself for creating something from nothing, he trapped himself in the body of a mad extra-dimensional being that feeds off of pain and misery. Now, this is my favorite episode of this very young season, but it also is the one I have the biggest complaint, and I will get to it. It'll make sense when I get to it. This episode starts with a flashback. 1888 Whitechapel. Red Jack is Jack the Ripper. By the way, if you're ever in London, please take the Jack the Ripper Whitechapel walking tour. It's brilliant. He kills a young woman. A bunch of butterflies came out. He also comes across a very young Niles and spares him. More on that later. In present day, Cliff and Jane are sick of Niles, so they take off. Cliff is going to go meet his daughter, and he's just pure rage right now, so this is the worst time to do it. Now, he tried to meet his daughter in season 1, failed, and this one doesn't work out that well either. While they're driving to his daughter, Jane has another intervention with her personalities, and again, they tell her that she's got to leave Niles and leave the group, or she's going to lose her job as the primary alpha personality. And Vic is still gone, and he's going to his PTSD groups and getting it on with the army vet that he met there. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. The 2019 character. There is a cringe scene where she stops a mugger. Vic goes to help, but she doesn't need no help, even though she's walking on a cane. She kicks the mugger's ass and then doesn't let Vic call the police on them because of systematic this and systematic that. So it gets a little woke, and I rolled my eyes and it was over. But the best part of the episode was the interaction between the Chief and Red Jack and the flashbacks with Larry and Rita. The Chief gets a ransom note from Red Jack saying he's got Negative Man prisoner, so Rita and Niles go to save him. They leave Dorothy behind to play hide and seek with her imaginary friends with disastrous results that we'll get to momentarily. And we have Niles roll into the palace of Red Jack, which is interdimensional, and they explain it. There's not a ton of exposition, and honestly, Red Jack felt like a throwaway in this. That's my big complaint. I love the character. He was played well. It felt like the Red Jack from the books, but they didn't give you any of that background that he might be God. They tell you he's a madman and he's interdimensional and that he feeds off of pain and misery, but not the details you want. So hopefully they bring him back and he's not just a one-off. In the meantime, Rita is looking for Negative Man, and while she's on her way saving him, we get the flashbacks of when they met the first time, which I thought were really good. It shows that they have like a brother and sister relationship. She was the first person to be kind to him after he was held prisoner by the military. It was really kind of cool. Sweet little scene. What wasn't sweet is when Niles rolls in on Red Jack and he's putting his thumbs in somebody's eye sockets, and it's like full on Hellraiser. You got people all stitched up and just horrific things going on. And in the beginning of the episode, in the flashback, they showed young Niles nicking a watch from a cop, showing he's really good at sleight of hand. And we find out why Red Jack wanted Niles there, why he drew him in. He's offering him immortality. He wants Niles to be his apprentice because he's really good at making other people suffer. He was an admirer of Niles' work. And Niles is horrified to hear this. And I thought he was going to accept the offer, but instead he uses his sleight of hand, nicks Red Jack's blade, and kills him. Now, during the death scene, like, Red Jack is loving it. He's like, oh, the pain of death and suffering. This is great. And all these, turns into butterflies. And they killed him. I'm like, no, man, just like the freaking Joker in Batman 89. Like, what are you doing? Hopefully they bring him back. So Rita does end up saving Larry, and they free all the butterflies. There's a bunch of butterflies in cases. Those are all people that Red Jack has made suffer through the years. Now, in the comics, the interdimensional palace can only come down like once. I can't remember if it was once a year or once every 10 years. And he ends up being a serial killer. So he was Jack the Ripper. He was the Monster of Florence, for instance. So I hope they bring that character back. But the episode was really to show, what Doom Patrol is damaged superheroes. It's misfit superheroes. The ones that have all the powers that are just wrong, and they really can't go out and fight for justice because they're just broken people. And again, this show might not be for everyone. There might be a little too much victimization and self-pitying, which there certainly is with the Crazy Jane character. But that is the way it was in the comics. And remember, folks, the source material was from the 80s. So this stuff was new and different back then. And now it's just the only thing that's making this show better than anything else. And I can't believe I'm saying this. It's a good Greg Berlanti produced show. You might want to record that because that's the first time I've said that. But I guess out of 28 shows, you should get one good. But that's what sets this show apart from any of the trash you see on the CW. It's focused on characters. Now, I haven't seen Stargirl. I didn't like Teen Titans, season 1 or 2. I like Swamp Thing in the first few episodes, and then it got a little too woke for me. I do not like any of the CW shows, but I like this show. If you liked Legion, I was a fan of season 1 and 2, not a fan of season 3. you will like this show. If you like just traditional superhero fare, this might not be for you. It's very much a Vertigo title. Remember Vertigo? I can't believe it's gone. Frickin' DC. If you haven't checked out Doom Patrol, do so, but I can't recommend you sign up for HBO Max. Now, Doom Patrol is available on Blu-ray on Amazon, or you can watch it on Amazon. You have to pay for it. But yeah, and you know, basically that's what I'm going to do. I have to subscribe to streaming service because I review television on my channel. But if I didn't, I would be an a la carte guy. I would buy a Blu-ray or just purchase an episode. I think that's the way to go. It ends up being a lot cheaper because I don't watch that much new TV. Now, there are other shows I'm going to be reviewing. Dark, I'm going to discuss the entire episode, probably in an Inquisition with Doomcock, or maybe with a live, or you know what? Maybe Doomcock, Jeremy, and I should talk about it in a live stream. I think that's a good idea. I will be reviewing The Umbrella Academy and The Boys Season 2, and I will be giving you a proper Witcher Season 1 and Boys Season 1 review very soon as I'm done with Picard. Again, check the Doom Patrol out. I can actually recommend a modern TV show, and I'm so happy about this. So from here on out, it will be Thursday nights, 7 or 8 p.m., I have a live stream schedule on nerdrotic.com on my website, so go check that out. And again, if you're new to the channel, when I do the live stream interviews, I just discussed the show and you are my co-host. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like what you heard. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long, and I will see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.